guys, how are you? Sorry it took a little bit longer. I kind of fell asleep today. I took a nap. That's my good thing. I took a nap today. It was raining out and it was cold and rainy and I just went down and I totally zonked out. And it was funny because I was going to record, but I had lines from my pillow on my face. I thought, well, maybe I need to wait a while. Okay, so that's my good thing. Sometimes it's okay to take a nap, right? I worked in my yard this morning and it was all wet and cold and I just fell asleep. So, okay. So, like I promised you, we are doing 2 drawings per week. The Happy Hearts was the easier drawing, right? And then I want to challenge you a little bit to see if you guys are, want to try something a little more difficult, but don't think of it as difficult, because if you break things down into its easiest steps, into its most basic components, it's really not so hard. So I kind of think of drawing like building a house. You frame the house first, right? You wouldn't put the curtains up before you put the frame of the house in, right? So I have a lot of students that worry about details way too soon. So we start with basic shapes, and I'll show you step by step how to get the basic shapes of the rabbit. Let me kind of turn this down a little bit. So I am drawing upside down, so I went ahead and I sketched a second rabbit. I hope that's okay with you, but drawing upside down is not my thing. So I went ahead and I sketched a second rabbit, and I'm going to show you how I did it, and I'm going to draw it darker, okay? Maybe I'll do it in Sharpie. I think I want to do it in pencil first, though, because I'm going to add some details. And so what I want for us to do today is we're going to draw the shape of the rabbit, and I'll do it step by step, just like building a house, right? And we're not even going to worry about details. So I'll do another video after we get the framework done of the house, the rabbit. We'll worry about, the curtains and everything that goes inside it. Got it? Okay. Because kind of the goal of this is I want you guys to understand how to wrap a texture around an object. And today the texture is the animal. Okay. All right. So let's turn this down. And I'm still a little groggy. I might need to make some tea real quick. Maybe I will do that. Okay. So let's turn this down. Oh, I didn't do it right. Darn it. Tripod problems. Okay. And I think you guys can see it pretty good. It's a little hard for me to see, so I'm going to get my glasses on. Okay. So this is how I laid this drawing out. I usually start with the eye if I'm doing an animal, because it seems like it's easier for me. And then I have that first size. Remember how I talked about size scale relationships? So the first shape and size, and here's my fingernail, sorry. The first size is related or correlated to every other size, right? And then in the past, we also talked about form and function. So even before I started drawing, especially with an animal, I think to myself, what is it that makes a bunny bunified or bunalicious, or what makes a bunny, right? So I think about what it is that makes a bunny. Well, a bunny has big ears. I know that. And I know a bunny has big eyes. Bunnies are super hyper vigilant, right? Because they could be somebody's dinner. If they're not on the ball, they're gonna be somebody's snack. So bunnies are very, very hyper vigilant, always on the lookout. And I guarantee you, if you go through a walk through the woods, the bunny sees you before you see it, right? So, and their ears are shaped kind of differently. I kind of read today online that their ears are kind of shaped like a satellite. So that's why it's kind of pinched in right here, because it's stronger right here, so it can kind of go so it can cup its ears in any direction to hear way far away. And I never knew that, but that makes sense about the form and function of the piece. Why would the shape be pulled in right here? Because there's a real strong muscle and a tendon that can turn the ear in many different directions, right? I think that's pretty cool. Okay, so let's start on the eye first, okay? And for this eye, I think I made it a little bit bigger just because, I don't know why, I just did. So let's try it that way. So what I did was I measured halfway down from my paper in the center, because I knew I kind of wanted the eye to be the center of the theme, the middle of the drawing. Okay, so kind of do that, and then find the center of your paper. And then what I did was I gave myself some finger spaces, so I knew where the eye would fall in terms of relationship to the edge of the face and the head. So I go 2 fingers, put a dot, 2 fingers, put a dot, and then 2 fingers this way and put a dot. Okay, so you do it, okay? So remember, 2 fingers, 2 fingers, 2 fingers. So now you have 3 even spaces of 2 fingers, okay? Okay. Also, a bunny's eyes are on an angle. I think because they, since they are hiding most of the time, and I know this for like tigers and stuff, their eyes are on a slant, on an angle, because they need to be able to see through tall grass. And when your eyes are tilted like this on a 45-degree angle, it's easier to see through tall grasses. So instead of it being like straight like a human's eye, you need to do it like a 45-degree angle. So give yourself kind of like a light guideline like that, because you want to be able to do your 45-degree angle, okay? And this is where I'm going to start drawing. Like, do I want to do it with Sharpie? I don't even know. Maybe I'll try the first shape with the Sharpie. I've got a skinny Sharpie and I've got a pencil, and I have a really nice sharpener because I ran out of my mechanical pencil lead, you know, and it's not essential, so I can't go to the store to get more, right? But this is cool. This is old school, and we're gonna do it. So I just like take a little, you know, paper towel, which is also getting hard to find. I don't know about you guys, but it's hard to find toilet paper and paper towel. It's crazy out there, man. Okay. All right, so now I've decided that center of the page is where my eye is. I've gone 1, 2, and 3. This is going to be the edge of the head. This is going to be the edge of the nose. And I know since a bunny is usually on the lookout, very hypervigilant, their eyes are on a slant, a 45-degree slant, okay? So the first line I'm going to make is his eyelid. And maybe, I don't know, I'm going to see if you guys can see that okay. Can you see that okay? I think you can see it okay. Do I need to zoom in a little bit? This whole production business is not cool for me. All right, maybe that's a little better. Okay. I don't know. Yesterday when I looked at the video, I realized I cropped some stuff off, so I'm trying not to do that. Okay, yep, it's working. So draw about the size of your finger on an angle, like a curve, like this, okay? Then I kind of extend the curve out because a bunny has this line that connects the eye to the nose. And I know that this line is gonna be, it kind of ends up to be like the shape of a trapezoid almost, like here. But the nose is directly connected to this, you know, this triangle nose is in line with this like tear duct of his eye, right? Okay. And then I'm gonna pull a shape around like that. And, oops, actually, no, I'm not gonna do that. Boo-boo, sorry. That's why I'm doing pencil. I'm gonna draw another curve because this is his bottom lid, right? So here's his top lid, here's his bottom lid. So now I know my parameters of where the eye is gonna be, okay? And right here, remember how we talked about an implied line? This, when we did the rose drawing, we did an implied line, like you don't need to always fill in the information. Right here is like a little implied line, so leave it open, okay? All right, so here is where the tear duct is gonna be. And a tear duct is kind of shaped like a, I don't know, like a little U or like a hook. And then I pull the eyelid top part around like that. And I know he's gonna have lashes, so I kind of swing it out like that, okay? And then I do the same for the bottom lid. And I don't like where that's at, so I'm gonna erase it. This is why I'm not doing it with Sharpie yet. And don't try to make yours look just like mine. And this is what I love about art is that everybody's looks different. I mean, how boring would it be if we all had the same haircut, right? Like in 7th grade, me and my girlfriends all had the exact same haircut. And it was, it was okay for a while, but then you got to be able to be yourself, man. So, draw your drawing the way you draw it. I'm just giving you like little ideas, okay? So now we have the eye, 1, 2, and 3, right? And like I said before, some of my students, sometimes I let them draw from a coloring book. And so what I have them do is research or Google how to draw, a bunny in a coloring book, because it takes away all the extraneous information and it's easier to see with just the contour lines. So if you want to do that instead of follow along with me, that's fine too. That's no big deal. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I have the size and I know that I need to start building the shape of the face, okay? And I want to say like the shape of a bunny's face is kind of like an avocado. I was looking at it today. It kind of has like this, or like a pear. It's kind of like a pear shape too, okay? But I know that the edge of the nose is going to be right here because I measured it out like this. And I know the edge of the back of the head is going to be right here because I measured it out, okay? And I also know that there's kind of an angle from the tear duct to the nose, like this. And then there's another angle on the edge of the outer contour edge of the nose, like this. So what you can do is you can try to, if you want, you can follow along with me. Here's a little trick. I'm gonna tilt this up. Okay, so you know when artists go like this, they go like, you see somebody like going like that, like that, like that. Well, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but when I'm outside and I'm trying to draw something, I go like this because it's a couple of reasons. I'm taking an angle, so I take the angle, say that I'm drawing, I don't know, like a hill, or maybe I'm trying to draw like a shed or something, like the angle of a shed roof, okay? So I close one eye because when you close one eye, it flattens out the plane and it's easier to see. When you have your eyes both open, you are, focusing things in a 3D, but when you close one eye, it flattens it out so that, I don't know, it's kind of like a photograph. That's why it's always easier to draw from a photograph because it's a flat object. When you have both eyes open, you see 3 dimensions. When you have just one, you only see one. So anyway, I digress. So what you guys can do is you can take an angle from my drawing, because that's what I'm doing is I'm taking an angle like of the shed roof, and then I'm plopping down the angle. Oh, don't do it, come on. And then I'm plopping down the angle from what I see. So I see the angle, I take it like this, and I can even do a measurement with my finger, and then I plop it down. Okay, so what you guys can do is you can, let me see if I can do this right. You can take an angle of the nose, like with your pencil, close one eye, and then just plop it down. So does that kind of make sense? That way you kind of get the angles right. It's not too big a deal. It's just kind of like a trapezoid. So then I just kind of like drew this trapezoid shape because I know that the eye runs right into the nose, right? Like that, okay? So hopefully by now, and then you can just add like the little nose, which is a triangle, okay? And I noticed that like when the head, like this trapezoid shape kind of rounds out is like the top of the eye. So what I did was I kind of drew like a sketch, like a guideline from the top of the eye, and notice like right here, that's when it turns, boonk, like that. So the top of the eye, that's when you turn the corner. And also the top of the eye is where the ear meets up with the head, right? So now I know the ear is going to go here, but I'm not even going to draw the ear yet. I wish I kind of would have erased these. Maybe I'll just erase these so you don't see them so much, because it's confusing. Like it's so much easier if, there were nothing on my page, but it's hard for me to draw upside down. It's not comfortable. So I needed like a guideline to go by. Does that make sense? Okay. So I did this guideline. Okay. And I know that like here and here, though, this is going to be the back of the head. This is the angle that you took, and if you don't want to do it that way, that's okay, but that's why artists do that, is they take that angle and they flatten it out when they close one eye, and then they can plop it down. They're like using their pencil as a guide. Okay, so then I'm just going to go curve it around because I'm trying to make the shape of an avocado, kind of, right? And I'm not even going to add like the fur because, the edges would be all jiggity because rabbits are furry, right? All right, and now I feel like I might have the shape of the head. And if you do, that's good. And if you don't, just pause the video, right? That's no big whoop. So meanwhile, I'm gonna erase my guidelines, but you remember that the top of the eye is where it curves around, and then the top of the eye is also where the back of the head starts, okay? Does that make sense? All right, cool. And like I said today in this video, we're just gonna get this guy drawn. We're not even gonna worry about anything else. I gotta double make sure you can see everything, because let's face it, I'm no filmmaker here. I'm no Roberto Bellini, nope. Okay, So now we got the bunny. I feel like he's going pretty good. And now we're gonna talk about like the ears, because remember how I said the ears are kind of like a satellite? Well, they have this like this muscle or this tendon like right here that allows them to turn it in space. So the form and the function of the ear is that it would be kind of pinched in at the base because that's where the muscle starts. And then just like a satellite, it would open itself up like this. And bunnies have pretty big ears. They can hear really well. Have you ever like cupped your ears before? You can hear so much better if you put your ear like this. You can hear so much better if you cup your ears like this. Well, bunnies are like that all the time. They can hear super, super well. So that's why we're accentuating that we know that a bunny is all about the hearing, right? Okay. So then there would be like a line right here, because this is gonna be like the inside of the ear and this is like the front of the ear. You wouldn't see a line right here because it's turned in space, right? So here's the front of the ear, and the back of the ear you don't see because it's an overlap. And I'm just gonna do some jiggity lines right there because I wanna. And then really what you do is you just kind of copy this line, because the line right here is the head. So this is an overlap. This one's in front, this one's behind, right? And then just kind of copy the shape again. It's no big deal, right? You can do anything. If you just take it in its simplest steps, it's super duper easy. Don't be intimidated by like a drawing that's got full value, because like we said before, you know, if you can do this, you can do this. If you can do a value scale, which is, I gotta find it again. Oh. If you can do a value scale, which I should be doing anyway, if you can do this and you can wrap it around this, then you can do this. It's the same thing. We're only adding one more detail on top of the value, which is the texture, okay? Does that make sense? All right, and we're not even gonna worry about the texture today. This is gonna be a short little video. We're gonna draw the line drawing, and then I'm gonna add the texture later. Actually, I'm gonna add the value, and then I'm gonna add the texture on top of it, because it's kind of like a pizza. You just keep adding stuff, okay? So bunnies kind of have these two little, like, fatty things right here on their nose, and that's where the whiskers are. And I realized I forgot to add whiskers to this guy. How could I forget the whiskers? Hello. That's so funny. Okay, so this is where the whiskers are gonna be, and it's kind of like 1, 2, and then 3 for his little chin, which is a little bit bigger. And then I just swoop it into that shape of that avocado. So, oops, by now I'm thinking maybe you guys might have the shape of the bunny. What we don't have yet is the eye, and I will show you how to do that in a second. In fact, I should not even have that there. I just drew it out so I could see. But you know, teaching online is a little different than teaching in real life. I'm not gonna lie to you. Okay, so now I'm gonna draw and I've looked up bunny's eyes, and they're all kind of different. There's some bunnies that have super dark eyes, so you don't see anything but a highlight. And if you wanna do that, that's fine. If you wanna just draw a highlight right here and then fill it all in, I don't care. But I kind of think he has more personality when you see the iris, and the iris is like the color part, right? So now I'm gonna draw, like carefully pull in the iris, and I'm gonna do it not in a circle, but I'm gonna do it like more of like an ellipse, because it's, you know, a 3/4 view. He's turned in space a little bit. And so when you see something on like, oh, hold on, let me get my coffee cup just a second. And there's no coffee in it. Okay, let's see. See if you can see this. Okay, so when you see a circle straight on, that's what a circle looks like, right? But we're not looking at his eye straight on. We're looking at it like, I'm not gonna dip this like all over my drawing. We're looking at it turned in space. So now look at that circle, it turns into an ellipse, right? So when you look at a circle at an angle, that's the shape you see. Does that make sense? So that's kind of why I'm doing his iris in this direction, because I feel like he's turned his head a little bit. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw another, like a black where his pupil is. And then I'm gonna draw a circle for where that bing, that highlight is, just like that. And then you can just go ahead and fill in the black pupil, and then he'll start to feel more realistic a little bit, right? Okay. And then, I know I said I wasn't gonna do any shadow, but it bugs me a little bit. you know, the whites of his eyes. Oh, and make sure that when you draw the pupil, that you pull it down so it connects to the lower lid. Otherwise, you know, when somebody's eyes are, like, I'm just gonna do this. When somebody's eyes are tucked, you know, their pupil is tucked in, it looks natural. When they're like this, they look really freaked out. So if you want your bunny to look really freaked out, sorry, I need some coffee. Afternoon naps are probably not a good idea for me. Not a good look on you, Miss. Anyway, so that's why I put the pupil so it touches there, okay? If you want him to look like super scared, then you like leave more white of the eye. Does that make sense, my friends? Okay, so far we have the eye, we have the shape of the head, which is like an avocado. We know that there's like 2 finger spaces across like that, right? And we know that the ears pinch in a little bit because they're like a satellite. They turn so that they can hear. Oops, let me see. Can you see that? They turn so that they can hear in long distances, right? Okay. We also know that the eye runs straight like this, and if you want, you can take an angle, like look at your computer, take the angle, and then just plop it down on your paper. Close one eye, and take your thumb, take the angle, and plop it down. And you can do the same thing with this, and then you'll get the right angle. Otherwise, just guess. Do your best guess, okay? And then we also know at the top of the eye, that's when it turns. It curves there, and at the top of the eye, that's when it curves around. Does that make sense? Okay. Well, if you were doing like a normal bunny, you would probably draw a body, but I'm gonna do like a little bunny dressed up because I think it's cute. So I'm gonna draw like a little bow tie, which is really simple. It's like simple. You just draw a roundy rectangle, and then you just draw like a rounded off, kind of a jiggly, triangle. No big deal. Or trapezoid. That would be a trapezoid, right? But the edges would be kind of like that, right? I probably should do that on this one. Like that. And then it would be bunched in the middle, so I would probably do some lines like that, right? And then a collar is super simple. It's just a roundy rectangle, comes around back like that. And you would probably see this part of the collar, okay? So I'm wondering now, do we stop here or do I show you a little more? What do you think? I wish I could ask you. Because if I was in class, I'd just be like, what do we do? Do we stop here or do you want to do a little more? And if I went too fast for you, just go bleep, pause. Put my big mouth on pause and try your best to catch up. Okay. Oh, and remember, implied line here and implied line here. That means it's open, right? Let your eye do the work. Get your eye, get a job, right? Okay. I really do need some coffee. I'm kind of tired. All right, so if you get this far tonight, that's fine. Otherwise, let me see, where did I go? What you can do is this. Okay, so I've got a little set of directions right here on the ear, and it says, shade the overlap and push back. So what I did was, we know that dark values go back, and I'm following along with the contour edge, and I want this ear to feel like it's in front, right? So I would push back with a dark value to like enhance that overlap. Does that make sense? All right, so, and I'm not even gonna worry about like putting my texture of my bunny fur on yet, because it's kind of like a layered cake. Like, first you bake the cake, then you frost the cake, and then you put the writing on the cake, right? You can't write happy birthday on top of a cake that's not frosted, right? So I'm gonna do some of the value we talked about before. Darks push back, lights come forward, right? So if I'm pushing this back, it's gonna make this feel overlapped, okay? So what you can do is start to do some value on the ears, push it back so that this one comes forward and this one goes back. And it would probably be like a little overlap here, so I'm gonna put a little shadow here, because it's maybe even a little pinched in more, because I do think that their ears are really pinched in, and there's a reason. I never really realized what the reason was, but it's because they can turn them in all sorts of directions. I saw a little video today on how rabbit, and do yourself a favor, like if you're drawing a rabbit, get on YouTube and just like look at how bunnies move. Look what they do with their ears. It's super amazing, actually. Their ears are phenomenal. And I think that I read today, they also use them for like temperature control. And I never knew that. Like, so it keeps them cooler in the summer. And I think that there's more like blood vessels in it, and it helps them stay warmer in the winter. So they're like good to go. These ear deals are pretty cool. Okay, so now it feels like this is pushing back, right? And it feels like this is pulling forward, but it gets a little tricky because this is the inside of the ear. So then I gotta go and do some more shadow work, like right here, take a look. So then I'm gonna feel like this is the, because the darkest part, you know, of the drawing is probably going to be the inside of the ear, because you want it to feel like it's going like down into his head, like his brain, his bunny brain, right? All right. And I'm not sure how far I'm going to do on this drawing, and I'm babysitting tomorrow, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to get more done. All right. So what I want you guys to do tonight, if you get to it, remember I said that you get to choose the drawings, so you can choose between like the easy drawing, or you can choose this drawing, which is a little bit harder. So it's your choice, right? But I like it when you guys challenge yourself, because you got some time now, so you know, why wouldn't you? Because I'm sure that you have enough time, right? All right. See? Okay, so eventually you're gonna build it with your value, and don't even worry about putting the fur on. We'll do that next time. And maybe I'll just spend some time and do the same thing. So what I did was, oh, I forgot one more thing. Okay, so around this bunny, there's like a marking, like a white marking of an, you know how bunnies have markings. So I kind of like drew that little marking out around his eye, because I knew I wanted that to stay a little bit white, and I'm not going to shade too much right there. And I also realized that there's like a marking around his little mouth like that. So I kind of like jiggied up, just like did like a like that. So, oh God, can you see? Yeah, okay, good. All right, so, and that I know I want to stay white. Make sense? All right. So if you want to, you can start shading the bunny, and this is the direction that you shade. For this part, you just kind of shade, and what you can do is shade like a value scale. So you would shade dark here, which is number 10 core shadow, right? And then you can lighten it up. And I remember that I said don't shade too dark too fast, you know, because your mid-tone gets lost a lot of the time. And I see a lot of people that when they draw, they lose their mid-tone. They go right from dark to light, and they don't have that mid-tone. And the mid-tone gets overlooked real easy. So, you know, start in the mid-range and then go back and add your darks. It just seems to work better, because if you have too much dark, it's like, it's too, it's not a full value scale. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so you can go ahead and shade this part. I know I said I wasn't gonna shade it, but I'm doing it, right? Why do I always say that? All right, so pretty much you guys are gonna know how to do this. I really think you are, because it's really, once you get the drawing down, like building a house, you start with the structure, and then you start adding the details, and the details are gonna be the value, and the details are gonna be the texture, and the texture is what we're gonna add like last. Like the eyelashes come last. You don't start your drawing with your eyelashes, do you? Well, I know a lot of people that do. Don't put your eyelashes on before you even have your pupil. It doesn't work that way, right? So get the structure down first. If you're dying to get some eyelashes on, what I do is I do like a dark line here, like a weight line. It's a heavy line. Like a weight line shows that it's got mass, right? I don't think I've talked about weight line with you guys before. I've talked about implied line. Implied line is broken, and a weight line shows thickness or mass. So it's the opposite of an implied line, okay? All right, and then what you can do is you can just kind of like carefully, since these are gonna be a little lighter, you're gonna wanna keep your value scale on his little mouth, on these three little spheres, a little bit lighter, right? And he's got a little split in his nose too. I noticed the bunnies have like this little split. Okay. And then since I want, you know, his collar to go down, I think what I'm gonna do is change this so it's a little jiggity, because I know he would have fur right here, like that. And let's see. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I also know he would have fur, like a little beard right here, okay? All right, so then what you can do is start pushing and pulling with his collar. And I thought that we would do like a combination and do like some color on this, but I think that might be too much. It's enough, you know, for a project if you have like 1 or 2 solid skills in it. We don't have to do like the happy hearts on his shirt, like the coloring on his shirt of the happy hearts with the warm and the cool colors. I think that's a little too much, right? Right. All right. So you can start pushing and pulling with your value. Like you want the bow tie to feel like it's coming forward. So what do? You push the collar back, right? And you want the face to feel like it's kind of coming forward. So what do? You push the collar back. And again, I have to stand up. So like, right, like whenever it's not comfortable in your shading, you gotta get your hand so it has that natural range of motion, because it's like you're fighting against your own body. It doesn't make any sense to shade if it's uncomfortable. Does that make sense? Okay. And I think what I'm gonna do is just like pull a little value scale here, like this. And then maybe I'll like leave that a little bit white in the middle. I don't know. Sometimes what I draw is like I draw it and then I walk away from it and then I come back to it and then I can see with fresh eyes, they call it like fresh eyes. I can see with fresh eyes what I need to do to my bunny, right? Okay, because I know that he's gonna have to have some shading here as well, because it's kind of shaped like an avocado, like we said before, right? And so if I want it to feel round, I'm gonna start with my shading, but I'm starting with my mid-tone. And I can't say that enough. I feel like people just come, oh, I gotta, look at what I'm doing. Sharpen your pencil, guy. My hands are a little sweaty. Okay, yeah. And if you have one of these, like I said before, if you can see it, like this opening is good for shading because it makes the nib of the pencil wider. This one is good for drawing because it makes it stand up more. That makes sense? Okay. All right, so I'm just gonna shade a little bit, and this might get a little boring, but you know, I've been really thinking about getting a dog. I really, I don't know why. Maybe it's because I have some time off and I'm walking and I see all these people walking their dogs, you know. And I really like golden retrievers, like a lot. My neighbor had one and she was such a sweet dog. And my brother has one too. And I just know that they're super friendly and they'd be good around my grandkids. And, you know, dog's temperament, you gotta look into it. It's a thing, right? Okay. All right, so I'm getting started on this and I'm not gonna go too much into it, but you know, I always say that and then I just keep going. Because drawing is so relaxing for me, right? I mean, it just totally is. And I know probably like the darkest part of my drawing, can you still see what I'm doing? Yes. Okay. Probably the darkest part of my drawing is gonna be where, you know, the hole in his head is, like right here. So I know that I can start darkening this up with my core shadow, but I still don't wanna, you know, forget about my mid-tone, because that's not nice. Don't forget the mid-tone. Nobody wants to be forgotten. All right, so there you go. And notice how fast I'm shading. I'm like going super, I'm not worried about like, I'm not worried about letting, like hiding my, my marks on my page, because why? Because I feel like it's gonna be furry anyway, and then I just kind of go into like making the fur, because when you make the fur, it's gonna be like short little strokes. And I'll show you how to do that, I think later, if that's okay with you guys. And then you know how to make like the edge of this look round, right? I have to come all the way over here. Right, so this would look a little round, so you start with your shadow. And like I said, you know, you can draw anything if you just start with simple shapes, and then you like frost your cake. I guess maybe it's more like baking a cake than like building a house. Maybe it's the same thing, I don't know. But when you bake a cake, first you start with the shape of the cake, right? And then you add the frosting, which is kind of like the value, which is what I'm doing right now, and my hand feels really awkward because I tripods in the one. I can't do it. All right, I'll just leave it like that. Okay, so when you're baking a cake, right, you have the structure of the cake, and I'm just gonna tilt it up for a little bit and talk, because I want to, even though my hair is not so great, but oh well. It's pandemic hair. Everybody's hair looks like this right now. Everybody's hair, everybody's nails look like this, which I can kind of get behind because I'm not all about it anyway. Okay, like I said, let me tilt this down, please. Dink, 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 there. Okay. So, when you're drawing a drawing, don't get overwhelmed with all the details. It doesn't matter really, because it's like layering. You can layer the details on top. What you need to do first is get, you know, the shape, the contour edges and the shape correct first, okay? And that's kind of why I did it step by step. So measuring it out sort of helps, and taking your pencil and finding the right angle sort of helps, right? And then deciding, you know, how big the first shape is for the size scale, because, you know, if I drew like a teeny weeny eye, I'd have a teeny weeny, you know, rabbit. Rabbits are hyper vigilant. Their eyes are big. They see everything. Their ears are big, right? It's that form and function piece that we talked about. If you can like look up and research your animal a little bit, you're gonna understand how to draw it better. Like for example, pinching in the ears like this, ding, ding, because their ears are like a little satellite, which I never knew. I think that's pretty cool. And then once you have your cake made, which it's like a bunny cake, then you can start frosting it with the value. Remember, value is different than hue intensity. Value is black and white, hue intensity is color. We're using black and white today, right? Okay. So then you can push back the ear, because darks push back and lights push forward. Remember how we talked about that? Yeah. You can push back the ear so this one feels like it's behind. It's an overlap. This is in front, this is behind. So therefore, you're gonna wanna push it back, right? And don't go too dark too fast, right? You can't take the salt out of the soup, okay? And then you can start shading with his little nose, because you know that this line is where it goes right to the triangle. You make your little triangle and then you split it. And then there's these three little spheres, right? That's where his little whiskers are, which I forgot to do on that one, which is kind of funny. But then you can do your value scale like this, and then you can start to make his head look round. So like back here, which I couldn't do because I can't get my hand in the right spot, so I'm not even gonna worry about it, okay? Yeah. And then the eye, if you want to, the eyeball is really a sphere, and it's lightly shaded on the edges, okay? It just is. So it's not like the white of your eye isn't really white. When you draw an eye, you're gonna wanna make sure that it feels spherical like a ball. And so what you do is you would shade the edges really lightly, okay? Does that make sense? I think that we're gonna stop there today. I'll put a little more work on this, but I'm hoping that you guys, you know, got your drawing done. And I'm turning it up. There we go. Yeah. So just remember, don't get overwhelmed. You can draw anything if you break it down into simple shapes. It's really not a big deal. It's really more practice. Practice your contour shading than anything. That's a big deal, right? So yeah, I look tired. I need some coffee, but it's too late. I might have messed up my bed schedule. Oh, afternoon naps. All right. All right. I think of you guys all the time, and I'm continuing to reach out to you guys through email. So please respond to me, because I want to know how you guys are doing. Some people are, and some people aren't. So when you get an email from me, you say, hey, I'm okay, Ms. Flynn. So, you know, I don't worry about you. Okay? All right. So when I see you again, I'll show you how to put on top, like the frosted cake, on top of the frosting, which is the value, we're gonna add the texture, which is like the writing, like happy birthday to you. So like the writing, or you know, the next layer for this little bunny cake is gonna be how to do the fur. Does that make sense? All right, I'm out like trout, kids. I will see you real soon. Bye.